Okay, can you share anything with us about the plasma antivirus antibodies that are in the works right now?
Yeah, so thanks to my friend, Dr. Bill Wynn, for keeping me up to date on the different therapies that are being pursued. Dr. Wynn, about a week ago, had sent me a medical paper on the different medication approaches that are being considered, the hydroxychloroquine with the azithromycin and other types of medications. But he also sent me an article this week on a couple of emerging therapies. So as of April 13th, so that was Monday, there are no FDA approved what they call convalescent plasma or hyperimmune globulin immunotherapies. So there is nothing yet that has been approved for use by the FDA. However, the FDA is playing a very prominent role working with private companies across the country to help facilitate the development of and the access to some of this therapy. So I think the one that that we're hearing the greatest amount about is where we take the blood from a patient that we know contracted the virus. They likely quarantined and they recovered fully, and now their body has developed the antibodies that successfully fought the virus. So taking their blood, separating the red blood cells from the plasma, so you have this antibody-rich plasma, and then using that to inject it back into a sick patient. Ideally, somebody that's in the ICU, perhaps somebody that is on a ventilator. I don't know if it increases the likelihood of survival if you're able to give that plasma therapy early on. But obviously the theory behind it is the antibodies in that plasma then attack the virus cells that are in the infected person, and similar to the person who overcame that virus, it helps them as well. I did get a call earlier this week from a physician on staff, Dr. Dingra. He's a nephrologist. I think he's based out of Fresno, but he has been working with St. Agnes in Fresno and the Central California Blood Bank to participate in these trials, in these studies. So it could be that our local blood bank is one of those private institutions that the FDA is working with. So we're hoping that something comes to market soon. We think that this, at least what I read, is this is much more promising and probably has less negative consequences or bad side effects to using some of the drug therapies. I also have been on a call over the last couple days with somebody that is closely following the development of stem cell therapy, that it would be specifically targeted to the lungs and respiratory related conditions like COVID, where they have used successfully stem cell therapy in animals that had a respiratory condition, and again, very specifically targeted. So they are also working with the FDA on a trial and hope to make it available relatively soon too. So, and I think Tulare County, frankly, would be an ideal place to trial it, particularly given the very clustered outbreak that we saw at Redwood Springs, and then now hopefully isn't the start of a larger outbreak, but with Lindsay Gardens, if we were able to bring those type of therapies to them early on in their condition, that'd be wonderful. I do want to share, on a very bright note, one of the patients that was admitted in kind of late March, that has been with us almost a month and was intubated in the ICU, has now recovered. And we've given them 2 COVID tests a day apart, and both tests have now come back negative. And so we've now transferred that patient to a lower level care. This is a patient that spent a long time on a ventilator. And generally the experience has been that the longer you're on the ventilator, the less chance you have for survival. That was very encouraging news. We similarly had another patient that was admitted in March that also has been moved down to a lower level of care. And we are seeing that in our hospital, that patients that are improving and going from the ICU to the ICCU and then down to maybe 2 South. So that's been good to see.
That is good news,
Yeah, and while we have 352 positive cases in Tulare County, we have a population of 450,000. So I think the citizens, the residents of this county are doing a phenomenal job with the social distancing and the hand washing and everything. And I'm becoming increasingly optimistic that we can really flatten the curve. The predictive analytic model that I referred to often here, Qventus, which is a free model. You can go online and Google it and I think sign up for Qventus. And it's showing now that for our region, which is considered Kern County and Tulare County, has about 1.3 million people. But the model is now suggesting that we will see the peak of the virus maybe in the first week of May, maybe the second week. So still a month away, but what was really encouraging about it is the height of that peak is now significantly lower. So when we get to that, middle May, reaching that apex may mean only 20 new cases a day. So still a very, very low number. When you looked at that model a couple weeks ago, it was that apex was going to occur sooner, and it was up to about 70 to 100 cases a day. So I know California and Governor Newsom are increasingly optimistic that what we're experiencing statewide is actually well below what the models were initially predicting. But that's what we're also seeing in Tulare County. And I would just continue to really encourage everybody, don't back off, don't slack off. I use the term, double down. So this, I think, altogether, we're going to overcome this thing, and ideally sooner than we had all expected to.
Yeah, I would think that would be a big risk, is people saying, well, it's not going to be as bad as we thought it was going to be, so maybe I will go out, or maybe we will start assembling together, and then the fear is that.
Yeah, the fear is it just comes roaring back.
Right.
That it goes into some type of sleep mode because, but then we all start prematurely gathering and going back to the way we used to behave, and so I know that the country and the states and our own local community want to open up as soon as we possibly can. I mean, it's been a devastating blow to the economy and local businesses, and I look at all the people that have lost their jobs, and I know that that pressure to try to get back to some level of normalcy is really great. But I greatly fear that if we rush into that, it could have really bad consequences for us.